So this is the first... You came back for Stevie's testimonial last year, didn't
Yeah,
you?
and I did 2 when I was here.
The 2 testimonials?
Well, like Nielsen's and Clark's.
Oh, yeah. That's
I was
pretty...
playing, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Do you enjoy playing testimonials?
Yeah, they were fun.
It's just nice to see the guys again,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
fun, yeah.
So where did hockey start for you, and when did hockey first come into your life?
I have an older brother, size 4 or 5 in Canada.
And that's what were you a fan before you took to the ice, or was it just on skates and then from then on the love of it came?
No, I think right from day one, I loved hockey, and then my brother played, and then followed in footsteps.
And what was your first team?
I was in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I don't even remember what they were called.
The Charlottetown Abbeys.
Maybe, yeah.
There's no stats for them.
But that's June. I would have been 15 then, 14, 15.
In 1990? So then your first proper team would have been Kingston from...
Frontenacs, yeah.
And how did you end up with those?
Got drafted for...
Oh, through the OHL draft?
Yeah.
And what was that experience like?
Getting drafted, back then we got to pick which
Which of the 3 that you
wanted to go to, and I picked the OHL, and you go into the draft, and I didn't go to the draft, and they call you and let you know, and it's it's pretty exciting because you watch it as a kid.
And then it was quite a successful year for you, with 63 points in 64 games.
Yeah, I went up there, and I'd already been playing against 17, 18, 19-year-olds for the last couple of years, playing junior back in my hometown, and got there, and I fit in pretty well, and I was physical and had to fight some then too.
Well, I was going to ask that because you managed to set a record in the playoffs for the most penalty minutes that year.
Yeah, it's back in the day that you in the game you had to be big, tall, and if you weren't, you had to prove that you could play that way. And I think that's one of the my dream was to play in the NHL, and I knew that if I was going to play, it was going to be in other ways than just putting the puck in the net.
So then, after 1 year of playing with Kingston, you do get drafted.
Yep.
What was that experience? What was that phone call like?
Actually, I went to the draft that year. It was in Quebec City. I got drafted by the now defunct Quebec Nordiques, and it's one more step closer to getting into an NHL game. And you want to be drafted as a kid. You grow up in Canada, 2 years old, all the way up to the day you get drafted, dreaming of that day. And it was awesome. It was surreal, and it was one of the best days.
And were you expecting your name to be called?
Well, I didn't know. I was ranked late in the draft, and you never knew. And my agent kept saying, you can go or you don't go, but there's a chance you may not go. And so I took the chance, and I'm glad I went. But there are people that were at the draft that didn't get drafted, I'm sure, that were feeling not so well.
And then the team that drafted you, a year or two after, moved to Colorado. Did you think you weren't going to go with them then, kind of thing? Or were you still affiliated?
I was still affiliated, and you get 2 years until you sign, and I guess Colorado, I wasn't in their plans, and they traded me right before the deadline to the Calgary Flames, and then they had my rights, and I signed with them, and after my last year, and ended up playing my first year in the American Hockey League in their farm team.
And then to go straight from juniors to the AHL, they must have seen you as a real good prospect with that, because a lot of times guys can end up in the ECHL and things like that. Yeah,
it was. I had a really good final year in junior, and it was the next step. And sometimes you do well, and sometimes you don't in the American League. And then I got an opportunity to play on the power play and whatnot. And if you're on the power play, your numbers are going to go up no matter what league you're playing. And if you're on the power play, you're going to be a higher point guy than if you don't play power play.
And then that last year in juniors, you managed to get 1 penalty minute more than points. It was 136 penalty minutes.
Yeah, and I think I got it last shift and made sure I wasn't.
Just took one little
they
extra
were making
jab.
fun of me. I think the last shift I took a penalty just to get over it.
And then on that St. John Flames team, you actually crossed paths with a former Nottingham Panther in David Struch.
Yeah, Struch, he was... I got a funny story about David Struch, but he played there. He had he had a knee surgery, but he's a really nice guy. I think he's coaching or scouting now, if I'm not mistaken. But there was one time where we were in Providence, Rhode Island, playing against the Bruins farm team, and Struchy got a healthy scratch, so he went out like they did back then and was having some day drinks and whatnot, and go to warm up and a guy gets a puck off the face and can't play, so they have to find Sturgeon. Back then, there's no cell phones, so they track him down. Someone tracks him down. He comes into the room and he's red faced and we're teasing him and he said, "I'm 8 beer deep." So he played the game. He played pretty good, actually. I remember because we were talking about it, but he played pretty good, half drunk.
Sometimes improved performance, can't
exactly. It takes the anxiety away.
And you had a pretty good goalie that year as well, in Dwayne Rollerson.
Yeah, he was actually my roommate, and he went on to have a really good career. So Dwayne was my goalie my first year. I got traded to Montreal my second year, and 2 lefties were my goalies then, who ended up going on having better careers than Dwayne Rollerson. My goalies then were Jose Theodore and Thomas Faucon, who were Vezina trophies in the future from then. So early on I had some amazing goalies that I played with.
And when you got traded from the Calgary organisation to the Montreal organisation, and obviously Montreal is such a prestigious team within Canada and the NHL itself, were you happy to move to Montreal?
I grew up in the eastern part of Canada, and it's either Toronto, Montreal, and Montreal is one of the top teams. It's the mecca of Canadian hockey. So it was an honor to getting traded. There's a funny story. I got traded in Newfoundland. We were playing against the St. John Maple Leafs, who are the Baby Leafs, and we fly in and we get on the bus, and the coaches and the equipment guy and the trainer are in the airport still looking for their bags, and get on the bus, and it's an automatic bus. So I get on in the driver's seat and all the players, and I hid the bus behind the airport. Well, later that evening I got traded.
That taught you. And then when you were with Montreal, you got to play in the NHL for the first time. What was the feeling like when you got told you're going to ice tonight in an NHL game? Well,
it was surreal. Like, I remember calling my dad at first thing, and just being saying, I'm going up, and he's like, I hate the Montreal. He was a Leaf fan, but he was kind of joking. But so I went up, and I was so nervous. I don't know if I slept an hour, and then your pregame skate, and I couldn't hold my stick. It was shaking, so it was a lot of nerves. But it was amazing playing with the Montreal Canadiens.
And was it at home or was it on the road?
It was at home. It was Hockey Night in Canada against the Boston Bruins. So it was,
a rivalry night then.
Yeah, so it was pretty. My dad was in the crowd, and they ended up interviewing him on Hockey Night in Canada. So it was a perfect start.
And do you remember your first shift in that game?
I don't remember my first shift, no. But I remember there's a picture in the paper, the local paper, the next day, of me hitting Ray Bork, and it looks like I'm crunching him, but as soon as I hit him, I bounced off him and fell down, but they don't see that.
So they got just the perfect moment.
Yeah.
And then you got 2 games in the NHL. Did that whet your appetite for wanting more of that after that?
Yeah, there was the second year that when I got 2 games, I got sent down to the minors I got called up on a Wednesday and sent down because we didn't have enough players in the American League for a Friday game, and was coming back up to play Saturday, Sunday, and I went down. Guy hit our goalie. I dropped my gloves. He kicked my feet, and I broke my leg, so I didn't end up going back. And the guy that went up for me went up for 2 months. And then I never got to play in the NHL again for another 10 years. So it's just like the timing there. Some guys get the good time, and some guys get the bad time. And then another funny story is I would have been playing against because when I broke my leg, they flew me back up to see the Montreal doctors. And the 2 games that we're playing was Pittsburgh, Mario Lemieux, and St. Louis, Wayne Gretzky. So I would have been playing those 2 games.
Wow.
So you miss out, but I got to watch them.
And that Montreal organisation, when you took to the ice that day, you had Mark Recchi and Saku Koivu on the roster in that team. It must have been incredible to see those guys so close.
Yeah, like there was still some big names. Like I'm friends with Mark now, and Shane Corson was there, and Darcy Tucker was there, and Saku, and there was a Stefan Quintal, Mark Bergeron. Like there's a bunch of guys, and for me it was surreal, and I didn't really feel like I fit in, but really you did.
And then when you're in the AHL that year, the same year as well, you've got another guy who's synonymous with the Elite League a little bit, in Dion Darling. What do you remember about him?
He was my roommate. We have some good stories I can't tell you on here.
I can imagine.
No, I like Dion. You know, Dion was really. We had some fun, and he was, you know, like some guys liked him, some guys didn't. He was one of those guys that said stuff that
Like
some guys
Marmite
liked,
kind
and
of
some So I really enjoyed him. We got along pretty good. He was he ended up being really tough.
And then were you under contract with Montreal still then, or did you re-sign with them for the next year?
I re-signed, yeah.
And you must have enjoyed it there too. Or was it just a case of I want to stay in this organisation, I've
Yeah,
experienced...
the opportunity. Yeah, I thought, you know, I was climbing up the depth chart, and hopefully you get more games in the NHL.
And then you're joined by an NHL stalwart defenseman in Stefan Robidar the year after.
Yeah, you know, he came here. He came down to the minors and started there, and he was really offensive, good defenseman. And you know, I followed his career and watched him go into the Maple Leafs, and Lou Lamoriello bury him. But he's I think he's working with the Leafs right now as a player development guy.
And then from there, you got 66 points in 67 games that year. You must be feeling that you're at the AHL. You belong at that level at that stage.
Yeah, it was kind of like my career kind of went that way. You know, I was an offensive skilled guy in the AHL, but the scouting report was I wasn't fast enough to make the jump in the NHL. So when I did go up to the NHL, I was mainly a guy that would fight or
Kind of
ask
pigeonholed
guys to
kind
fight.
of thing.
Yeah, so and then I'd fight on Friday night, get sent down, and be on the power play on Saturday. So it was kind of a change of roles.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And then you moved to the IHL. That's like the ECHL?
No, back
Oh.
then it is now, but back then it used to be it was an outlaw league where the AHL players could go
Oh, okay.
and make more money. So it lasted about 10 years. There was teams in Vegas, and what it drew older NHL players that weren't getting contracts. Instead of making them go to Europe, they were getting bigger contracts in this IHL, which would have been on the same parallel as the American League at the time.
And then you must have enjoyed playing in the IHL because you stuck in that league the year after when you went to Kansas City.
Yeah, you know, I had it. The cities, there were some good cities. You know, when you sign out of I turned down contract from the Blackhawks at the time, and they held your rights. So because I couldn't play in the American League because
Okay.
they held my rights, this IHL outlaw league, whatever, I was able to sign there and still make some money, even though that Chicago owned my rights. So there was 2 years there where I had to stay there or go to Europe.
And then another Panthers link. There's a lot of these. Dodie Wood.
Oh, he's my line mate. We had some good stories too.
Gary always tells the face-off stories about how he always tries to shoot from face-offs, and it only ever worked once.
Once, yeah. But blind squirrel gets a nut. And we had some good stories. He grabbed me aside. We were line mates, and he grabbed me aside and says, "I'll fight all the bigger guys if they come at me or they come at you. But if anyone's shorter than me, you got to fight them."
It's good to have that understanding going in.
Yeah, that was good.
And the year after, you stuck with Kansas City, but you were joined by Rhett Gordon, who retired as a Nottingham Panther.
Yeah, and I've got to know him pretty. He was a real nice guy. Yeah, like we had some good teams there too.
And then you stuck with the IHL again, went to Utah, where you're joined by some two elite league names. One of them is one of the Lee brothers who played in Coventry when you were over here.
Brad
I
and
believe.
Greg. Yeah, but that was Greg.
Yeah, and then Rick Jackman as well, who played for the Clan and the Five Flyers, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of those guys?
Like I played with both Brad and Greg Lieb, and
I remember you having a few hacks at them over here.
yeah, you know, I would hack my brother and the other team. That doesn't mean I didn't like them.
Oh, no.
No, but you know, I had some good stories. But Jax was a you know, like a top-notch defenseman in the IHL, up and down with the Stars at the time, and you know, back in that day, he liked one of the stories. He couldn't go to sleep without having 6 beers, so we'd be driving along, and he'd make a phone call at 11 o'clock because he knew by the time we got to the hotel it was 1, and he had them order beer up to the room so he could sit and watch some TV and enjoy.
And then you've also got a defenseman on that team in John Erskine, who played so many years for the Capitals, who was an incredible defenseman.
Yeah, he was good. He was big and tough, and he came in as a 20-year-old kid, and he had some learning to do, and I tried to lead him in the right way, and he ended up having a pretty good career. But I just actually he came across me in the news, and I see he went down the. I don't know if he's doing much better, but he went down the wrong way of an entering ramp and hit a transport truck.
Oh wow!
But he's fine, but I just don't know how much damage.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then the year after, the NHL comes back calling. Were you ready to get back into that? Then this is when you end up with Columbus.
Yeah. So what happened there was the guys in Columbus. I'm from Prince Edward Island in Canada, and the guys that are running the team in Columbus are from Prince Edward Island. So, do you need a break? Sometimes. So I got an opportunity. They wanted me to come in and be a leader in their American League team, and then played 3 or 4 years in Syracuse and earned my way up. And did they help me? Sure, I'm sure they did.
And then in Syracuse, you, like you say, leadership role. You were given an A that year, and that's, from what I can see, the first time you had that. What was that? Was that something a side of the game that you enjoyed, to be a leader?
Well, I was always vocal. I'm always a guy that keeps the room loose and likes to joke around. So that took care of itself. I think that sometimes by taking some of the penalties that I did, sometimes coaches didn't feel like the leadership or could count on you. And then others, because you put your balls on the line for the whole team. That some coaches buy into that too. So I didn't change when I didn't have it. I didn't change when I did have it.
And then the next year, you named the captain of the Syracuse Crunch. That must have been a great honor.
Yeah, it was a big honor. The coach that I had that year, I had him in junior, and I was captain for him in Kingston, the same coach. And he came and we were having success, and as point leader and on that team as well. So it was things that just went hand in hand, and it was a big honor.
And then I'm going back to the first year in Syracuse because I just missed out a name that I recognise, and then that's Brad Moran. The guy you played with when you came back the second time to Nottingham.
And some of the best years I had in the American League, Brad was my centerman. So it was when he came here, I knew him. It was a comfortable.
Because I remember when you came back here, it was you, him, and Uri on the line together. Yeah. And it was like one of the oldest lines in the league, but one of the most potent.
Yeah, I think
lines
we
in
had
the
like over 100 years of age.
And then that year, you play the most NHL games. When you're the captain of Syracuse, you play the most NHL games that you played to that point. That's 35 with Columbus. And there's guys like Rick Nash on that team. What was it about that? Did you enjoy being on the Columbus Blue Jackets then?
Yeah, it's still a dream. I was near 30, and it was still a dream to play in the NHL. And Dave King was coaching Columbus. I knew that he didn't like me. The day he got fired, I got called up the next morning, and I was up for a year and a half. So it was one of those ones where I knew the coach didn't like me. PEI people couldn't help me, and then they did. But it was up for a year and a half after that, and the NHL is
It's quite political.
Yeah, a little bit. The coach didn't like the style that I played.
Well, that draft picks get a certain preference, don't they? Because if someone in the organisation has a vested interest
could have
in
been,
someone.
Yeah, for sure. And he, the coach has some say in who they call up, and he was like, no chance. So then I went up, and it's, you're up for a year and a half, and it's the jump from the AHL to the NHL is like, it's so much more professional. You're doing things at the posh level. You're being treated like kings. So and I'm used to riding the bus and eating spaghetti with look like soup for tomato sauce and stuff. So it's just a different style. Which, if you don't like, you're foolish, because it's a great way to live.
And then when you're on that Columbus team and you're playing alongside Rick Nash and people like that, when you look at him, can you just tell he's a different level to everybody else?
It's funny because when he came in my first year, we would go to camp and he'd be 18. He'd be going to camp his first year, and you'd have to do like the off-ice testing, and he still had the baby fat. And he's a taller guy with baby fat. Couldn't really run. Couldn't really sprint. Wasn't very strong in the gym. Get him out on the ice, and he got 40 goals. So it was like, and then he realized that if he wanted to stay in the league a long time, he would have to get in shape and do those things. And he ended up having a really good career. But he came in as a kid and left the game as a man. But he was on the ice. He was superior at 18.
It's just a shame his career was cut short through concussion issues.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Yeah.
And then you're also playing alongside another former EIHLer in Columbus, in Derek Walzer, who coached Belfast over here for a stretch. What do you remember about him?
Well, he lives in my hometown now with his wife and family now, so I see him quite a bit in the summer, and I like Daryl. He's a really really good. He was really good defenseman. I think he's one of the guys that I always try to take the game now and see what players that you played against that could play now because of the game change. And was a small offensive defenseman that could skate, and he's one of the guys that I think that if he played in today's game, he would be in the NHL for 8 to 10 years. There's a story when he first came over to Syracuse. We had to he would be happy when we lost 7-2 if he had a goal, and if we won 6-2 he didn't have a goal. So we had to pull him aside and give him a little teaching that we're all happy when we score, you just can't show it.
And then, did you re-sign with Columbus that year, or were you on a multi-year deal?
No, I re-signed. I was always on 1-year deals, which it adds stress to the.
Well, it's that kind of profession, isn't it? It always seems like quite nomadic hockey players. Like very rarely you get guys that stick in one place for a long time.
From the NHL, they seem to have longer contracts. Under the NHL, that's what it seems like. You get the odd 2 or 3 year deals, but sometimes in Europe or whatever, doesn't even matter because the teams can get rid of you at any time anyway.
And then the final year that you're in Columbus, you played 50 NHL games, and you've got a new teammate in Manny Malhotra, who's an NHL stalwart for years. Did you ever play alongside him, or?
Yeah, he was on my team, and he was a line mate for a couple times. He got injured later in the year there, and but he was. Manny's, I think I even looked him up a couple months ago. He played close to 1,000 games, all on hard work and dedication to the game. He got a couple contracts just being a good face-off man. So it was, he did the game right, and the game owes him nothing. And
then you went to the St. John's Maple Leafs. Then I
think he's married to Steve Nash, the basketball player's sister.
Okay. Because he's Canadian, isn't he?
Or Steve Nash is married to his sister.
Yeah.
Steve Nash is the brother-in-law.
Yeah, so there's some link there somewhere. And then you moved to the St. John's Maple Leafs. Are they the baby Leafs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what influenced that decision? Was it wanting to go back to Canada after so long with?
Well, I still. The American League was going to be good that year. All the NHL guys, it was a lockout. The NHL locked out that year, so a lot of the NHL guys were going to Europe. I'm sure you guys got some over here.
I think we got Nick Boynton.
Yes. Nottingham. So then there was the teams in Europe wanted those guys. The American League was still going with a lot of prospects, a lot of big names that went down that were playing the NHL went down. The teams put them there. So it was, and they wanted to sign me, and it was a good opportunity. So I went.
And then I've got a few names on this list from Elite League and NHL players, and I'll go with Tyson Marsh. Start with former Cardiff Devil. Do you remember about him?
What do I remember about him? I remember Cam putting him to sleep.
I knew that was good.
But you know what? I remember playing with Tyson, and he's a genuine, good person. I knew him on the ice, and I knew him off the ice. So, I did feel bad for him. I did.
Because that was all to do with the thing that happened to Brad, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. So it was a payback, and and he was, it shows big balls that he answered the bell, because if Cam wanted to fight me, I don't know if I would answer the bell.
Even that few years ago, that was the code of the game then, wasn't it? Whereas that kind of side of it.
And it should still be, I think. And it's not, but it should be. Like, I think that if you don't want to fight or you don't want to be dirty, that's fine. But if you are, I think you should have it answer the bell or answer the code. But that's leaving the game now, too.
And then you've got another guy, former Panther, in Dominic Damore.
You know what? He was up and down in the East Coast League that year, so
not much interaction with him.
No, I met him. He was young. He was going up and down, so he was a nice kid that was just starting to earn his stripes.
And you've got guys like Carlo Koliakovo and Matt Stajan, who they're again NHL stalwarts, aren't they?
Yeah, and it was funny because they were both came down. You knew they were both going to be in the NHL. They were best buddies before they came, and it was kind of like they hung out. They're kind of a little bit different than the rest of us, but good guys.
And then that year, you've got 88 points in 80 games. You've set the American League on fire, and unfortunately, you drop out of the playoffs after just 5 games. But then you decide to make the move to Russia. Yeah,
so the lockout came back, and the NHL started back up, and I think the number was like 109 ex-NHL players that played in the year before the lockout didn't have jobs. So there was a transition
Oh,
of
okay.
guys that
Wants to come back.
couldn't. There was a bunch of them, whether it was due through the economics of the game or what came back in the CBA. I'm not sure. I didn't really look into it. But I ended up being one of them. And I got the opportunity to make some money and go to Russia. And at that time, it was in the situation where I was in my life, it was good timing.
Good to get away kind of thing.
Well, if I wasn't going to play in the NHL, the next best place is
What's the second
to
best?
make money is the KHL.
Yeah.
Actually, then it was the Super League because it was before the KHL.
Yeah, it's the second best league in the world, isn't it?
Talent-wise and money, for sure.
Yeah, and then you end up at Spartak Moscow. What do you remember about that team? Because I've got no links back to anywhere from there.
Yeah, there wasn't the only North American I played with there was Tyler Moss. But it's funny because I signed over there with Moscow Dynamo, and I went over there, and I did some homework, and they said don't go on the ice until they give you your money up front. So I go over, no phone, nothing. I'm sitting in this hotel right at the rink, and they said go on the ice. I'm like, no, give me my money up front, or I'm not going on. They wouldn't give it. So day one went by and still nothing because they wanted to give you a tryout.
Oh, okay.
Basically, and then if they didn't like what they saw, they would
Renege
fire
on the
you.
deal.
Yeah, renege. So I'm like, no. So day 3 comes by. Tyler Moss is down the street. I'm talking to him on Wi-Fi because I don't have a phone, and I said they're not giving my money up front. He said, well, our team will give it to you. Come to us. So called my agent day 3. Yep, go. So I get in the car and they come running out with literally the mail bag. Like, I'm not saying a check. I'm literally the mail bag, and I'm already gone. I just said
Brown paper bag with $1 written on it.
I don't know if the dollar was there, but it was the brown bag.
And then, did you enjoy your first year in Russia then?
I didn't enjoy any days in Russia, but payday, and that sometimes
It's just the lifestyle kind of thing.
It was the country's to me, I find it very dangerous. You always say to be aware whether you're walking on the street, if there's a drunk driver coming, because most people are drunk, and so everything was stressful no matter what, unless you were in your apartment watching slow internet on a TV show from back in North America that you could barely see because the internet was too slow. Everything was stressful, so it was. And there's not a lot of English, so it was hard. But the hockey was good, and the paycheck was fine.
And then the next year you end up at Dynamo.
Yeah.
Where you were supposed to end up the first year.
Yeah, so they ended up wanting me to
Because you were the top point scorer in the Russian league your first year there.
for my team, Spartak.
Yeah,
yes. So then they wanted me back, put a bunch of stuff in the contract, and I went there and had a pretty good year, stress wise, off the ice and whatnot. It was fine, but it was it wore on you and.
So it wasn't a case of adapting to it. It just got on top of you more and more of the things you didn't like about it.
Yeah, that for sure. But talk about I just thought about the mail bag with the money on it. The first year we get paid. It's payday, and they said come with us. So all 20 guys go up the stairs into the attic of the rink, and the rink's old one that you would watch on the movies. And we go up into this alleyway, and we're sitting there in a line waiting to go in, and they call your name, and they call my name. We go into this little closet, and there's a big mafia guy with a gun and an old lady sitting at a little desk with money counter here, a list in front of her, and a big mail bag of money. And you go in and you tell her your name and sign the sheet, and she takes her hand and brings out the $100 U.S. bills and drops it in the counter and says, "Here." And you're just like, now what do I do with it?
No bank account set up over there. Well, that's almost like when Bo was in on yesterday. He was saying that he's actually going to be in a Netflix special about a team he played for in Danbury because they were owned by the mafia.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in a Netflix special about all his experiences out there. But that sounds a lot more extreme than what he went through, from what I hear.
Yeah, like Russia. I had.
Did you go out and explore the country, or did you just stay?
I did my first couple of weeks there. I went. I did some of my homework. I went into TripAdvisor and whatnot. And they said to go into the North American hotel chains and go get the English tours. So I'd go on the tours through the hotels, through the English speakers and whatnot, and learn Moscow, in English that way, which for 2 weeks it was very interesting because you see
And it looks beautiful.
You see the stallion style buildings. They tell you which ones are stallion, which one are landing. Like you can tell the difference when you're walking down the street after you learn that. So that part was interesting, but there was a lot of stuff that like Bo, like you said about Bo, like I met so many Russian mafia guys that if you needed something
taken care of,
good, bad, or indifferent, you could get it.
And then once that second year ended in Dynamo, did you just get out of Dodge straight away?
No, it's my dad got sick.
Oh, okay.
So, and through that year, and that's why I signed back in Toronto because
close to home.
It was close to home, and I was able to fly back and forth to my hometown when my dad got sick. So that's why I came back. It was good timing because 2 years in Russia back to back was hard on the head, and it gave you time to regroup. But it's also the main reason was to come back for my dad at that time.
And then the year after that, well, you had a pretty deep playoff run that year with the Marlies as well. What do you remember about that playoff run?
Like we had a really good team. We ended up losing to Chicago Wolves, who ended up winning it. We lost to them in Game 7 in the semifinals. They went on to win 4 straight in the finals. So we I think it doesn't always work out that way, but we could have been probably the second best team in the league that year.
And then you also had a former Panther on that team, Phil Oreskovic, who I remember was called the Big O when he came over here.
Yeah, Phil. Phil was a tough D back then. He ended up he was assistant coach in one of the teams in Brampton played for.
Oh, that's cool.
So he was assistant coach, and Phil was Phil. There was a lot of good stories about Phil, and a lot of them.
So I think you missed him by a year over here. I think he came the year after you left the first time.
Phil liked his beer. I don't know if he liked his beer in Nottingham.
So then when that year finishes, you decide to go back abroad again, and it's to Switzerland.
Yep. You know what? I don't know if I decided or
your agent
or paycheck took me that way. Like you're dealing with veteran in the American League, and the money.
They're always looking for younger guys,
down.
aren't they?
Yeah. So I think more was the money at that time where I could get the money. I knew the NHL was.
That had gone now.
Gone. Now it's just a job and get the best place, see the world, and I think Switzerland at that time was the best option.
And did you enjoy Switzerland more than Russia?
Oh yeah, definitely. The people are really nice. There was still the language barrier. I was in a bilingual town, bilingual French German, which I think the German's a Swiss German, so it's not even the same as the German. Anyway, so I was in a bilingual.
It's like Quebec and compared to French is completely different.
Yeah, so I think it's similar to that. So I was in a bilingual city there, and you're in the Alps, and the snow globe with that's what Switzerland looks like with
that's cool.
The countryside. So it was really beautiful. People are nice. Still a language barrier, so it's still not like home. But
you kind of feel a bit isolated occasionally.
Yeah, but I did enjoy that experience because it wasn't stressful. When you left the rink, it wasn't stressful.
It wasn't as dangerous.
Right.
And then halfway towards the back end, did your Swiss team not do very well? Or?
No,
so a lot of times
in that year in Switzerland, when you're leading scorer, you get a yellow helmet and you wear a different jersey.
Oh, that's what they do in the Champions Hockey League.
Yeah, so you skate around and you got this big bullseye in your head that you're the leading scorer. So I had the helmet on. You're thinking you're pretty good, and the coach calls me in and says, "Who's Nick Ehlers on Winnipeg Jets?" His dad was coaching me. So
wow.
And Nicky was around the dressing room then. He was 7 or 8, 9.
I bet he was still quick then, wasn't he?
Yeah, you knew he was going to play. Like, he was by far the best player in Switzerland at the time, at that age. So the dad calls me in and says, we're going to sit you out and bring another import. I'm like, what? And he said, yep, we're sitting you out. I said, well, he goes, will you be a team guy and sit in the stands, and when we need you, we'll bring you back in. I said, I'm leading your team in scoring. He said, yeah, but this. I said, yeah, I'll do. You know what? I will. I'll do that. I said, but you give me 2 more years of the money you're paying me right now, and I'll do it. He said, no, we can't do that. I said, well, I can't do that either. And I worked out a deal with Helsinki and Jokerit and took off, and bygones be bygones.
it's the unfortunate side of the business of it, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was just kind of weird. Like, you're leading the team. He didn't like that I couldn't skate. He was all about speed. And I remember one time we're losing 3-2 and we need a goal, and he won't play me the last 7 minutes. Doesn't play me into. We ended up tying it. Doesn't play me into overtime. Go into the shootout. He says, "Can you shoot?" I had already taken my skates were already untied. My tape was undone, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm done."
I've had enough of this. So how did you find Finland? Because that's another country that's maybe like quite relaxed and quiet.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like it's not Russia.
It's similar.
But it's similar. It's not. The people are way nicer, way more trustworthy, but they still have they love their vodkas and they love their karaoke's. But I went there in January, and I don't know if it's dark. There's not a lot of sunlight.
Oh, like being in Alaska kind of thing.
Yeah, so you get 1 hour of gray, not sun, gray, and then it's the rest of the day it's dark. So it was, it was an experience. I was only there for 3 or 4 months, and Jokerit's one of the big teams in Finland. You played.
The one with like the jester on the shirt.
And you got to play in that rink where I think the World Championships were that following year. So it was like it was a really good experience. I wouldn't want to live there for too long, but it was fun.
And how did you adjust to the darkness? Because I remember I had our goalie this year, Kevin Carr, and he was saying that in Alaska they make sure that you go out on the road for a long stretch of time to avoid the sun deficiency and things. So,
well, by the time it really was becoming a depression, I was leaving. So it wasn't. But they don't really do anything to cope with it.
Because you're used to it.
But I heard that in those dark months, the suicide rate goes up. So there is a link through mental health and the darkness.
Well, so you're not getting enough
vitamin D,
and things like that. So it can't be easy to deal with. And that year when you end up in the playoffs that year, you managed to pick up 27 penalty minutes in 5 games.
In
Joker it.
Yeah, they. But you if you get a 5-minute major.
Oh, you're out in that league, aren't you?
And you get a 20-minute.
Yeah.
Penalty.
Oh, so it's just one of those, was it?
So it could have been, I could have. I don't know if I might have swung my stick sometimes.
A bit like your last act as a Nottingham Panther.
Maybe.
We'll get to that later on. So then you go from there and you actually go back to Russia. Was that again another case of best contract on offer?
No, I came home that year and I went in to train like I was going to play. September came, no one called. October came, no one called. My buddy who I played with in Moscow, Moss, calls me up and says, "Will you come to that
Amur Khabarovsk,
and it's 30 kilometers from a China border. It's as west as you can get. So he calls me up and I have no job, and he says, "Will you come?" I said, "When do they want me? I'm coming." So that's what brought me back. Ended up having a pretty good year and
top point scorer on the team again.
Yeah, and re-signing. So it was fun. It was our closest team in that year was 5.5 hour flight to a game. So we were always living on different. We were jet lagged the whole year. I remember going from Toronto. I flew from Toronto to Moscow direct, and it was 8.5 hour flight. I'm like, holy, that was long. And I get to the airport. I have to switch airports. They have 2, like they do in London. So they have 2. You have to get in the cab, and you got to go all the way across. And I get there, and I look at my ticket, and I have a 9-hour flight to my city. So I went farther.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the Khabarovsk to my hometown, 15-hour time change.
Oh, wow. And were you doing like one-offs as road trips, or were you going away for a while?
Well, you played, the first year you played one away, one home. And then they changed it because it was so much travel where you would go for 2 and come back for 2. But you were always like, you'd get a knock on the door and the trainer would come by with a sleeping pill and go, "It's time to sleep," because you didn't even know what time it was half the time.
Because it's not like over here. It's not 2 games a weekend. It's games any point in the week.
Anytime, yeah. Like you fly in, play one game, fly back for 4 days, fly back, play a game, fly back out, play another game. So it was. I remember the one year that I was there. They did an article on the Vancouver Canucks and their flying because they're out west and they always have to go east. So they were doing a thing, I think it was in Sports Illustrated, and it showed all the miles and stuff. And I think we calculated and we were like quadruple what Vancouver
Jeez.
did in the air. So it was kind of the timing, because the NHL did a thing on their flying, so it was interesting. But we did like quadruple that.
And then, like you say, you stuck with that team again. I'll butcher the name every time I say it, so I won't.
There's no K. Habarovsk, yeah.
Habarov.
Yeah.
And you had a current EIHLer on your roster when you. I don't know if you. I'm hoping you cross paths, otherwise this note's going to be pointless. And Stephen Dixon.
I get and me and it's funny because Steve's I played with him there and we were friends before and we're still friends. He lives in Halifax, which
It's a
is
shame you're
where
not
I
here
was
this
born.
weekend because we're playing them.
Yeah, I know. I talked to him. He's taking his MBA, and I helped him in the summer when he needed some things on the MBA, and he's on in my hometown some in the summer.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
he's a really good guy, and he's liking Cardiff, but it's funny. We used to room together on the road, and we're in these shitty hotels all over Russia. Some are good, some you wouldn't put your dog in there. Like, some are terrible. And every hotel he'd go into, he would pull out his robe and he'd get in the bathtub and never. I'm just like, like, who does that? And he's got this big robe coming out and walking around.
I can see me clipping that part out and just putting at Cardiff Devils on Twitter. That'll get out quite well.
That, yeah.
I'm sure he'll thank you for that one. And then it's only 18 games in Russia before you head back to the States.
So and it's funny because I ended up being named that year. Alex McGillney was our president, whatever, and he named me captain that year. So we start out 0-7, 0-8. No one's doing anything, and the coach gets fired. So when the coach gets fired, the way it works over there, the coach and the agent work together. So
Okay.
So what happens is the coach will say, I need a $500,000 player, say, and the agent will say, okay. So he'll call you up and say, will you play for 300? And you say, no, I'll play for 325. So they sign it, and the coach and the agent split the other 175,000.
Oh.
So they have these relationships because the coach already told the team that he's paying 500.
Okay.
So when the coach comes and the coach gets fired, the imports that he brought in usually go with him.
Okay.
Not with him to another team, but out of the club, because the new coach has his guys that are going to pay
his
him,
own deals in
that are going to
place.
pay his money. So that's what happened at that the coach got fired. I go with him, and so did 2 or 3 of the other imports.
And then did Providence come calling? Or was that an option that you had of multiple teams?
That was an example of me. I went calling because I wanted my green card, which is a working visa in the U.S. And the only way you could get that is you had to be working for a certain amount of time in the U.S. So I was going to go play the rest of the year because I got all my money that year, even though they fired me, got it all. I was going to go play in the East Coast League just for that sole reason.
Just to get the card.
Just to get the card. So I just happened to know a guy, and he was the head scout with the Bruins. I called him up and said, do you guys need anyone in Providence? He said, we do. He goes, we'll give you, I would have played for free, and he said, we'll give you, we'll prorate you at $80,000. I said, sure, absolutely, I would have played for free. I just want the green card. And I already got my paycheck. So it was perfect timing. I think 5 days later, they got 3 or 4 players back, and they probably regret signing me, but so be it.
Was it? You got another EIHL link in there is Jordan Smotherman, who's currently at Belfast.
Yeah. So Jordan was a rookie that year too, and he really good guy, real great teammate, and
Was a hell of a player.
And really good player. Like he didn't play much in that year in Providence. It was his first year. The coach didn't really like him. I played against him for 2 or 3 years later in the East Coast League, and he was a goal scorer, guy that can put the points up and bang around, and a really good guy. So I see him in Belfast, and
You've also got the Big Earn on your team in Providence.
So Big Earn walks in, and I played against him, and we had battles in the St. John Leafs days. He was with the Binghamton Senators, and they had a tough team. We had a tough team. We had 8 or 9 guys that loved to fight. They had 8 or 9 guys that loved to fight, and it was always brawls and whatnot. And Ray Emery, who
Oh,
just passed.
A bit of a nutcase of a
Yeah,
goalie.
and he just ended up drowning last year.
Yeah.
So, yes. So he was on the team. Big Earn and so we had a battle. So he comes into Providence and he's got sent down. He's still, I don't know if he's into the substances, but he still hasn't found.
Hasn't gone through the process of getting clean and stuff.
But he's not on them at this point. But he comes into the dressing room. No one really knows him. I played against him, and he comes in. He's got the headphones on, the hood up, the sunglasses on. He's got the big chew in, and he's just sitting there rocking and not talking to anyone in the dressing room. He doesn't want to be there. So for 2 days, I go over to him, and I'm just like this in front of him. He doesn't move. Finally, the second day, he laughs and giggles, and became pretty good buddies. He didn't like everyone on the team. He didn't open up to a lot of people on the team at that time, but we became friends. And even when he was here, I talked to him on the phone all the time, and we have some pretty good jokes. But he ended up being a bigger teddy bear than what his image showed him.
And because I think, from what I understand, he enjoyed his time here as well. It would have been cool to see you and him together on the ice over here.
Yeah, we would have had fun. Like he was fun, but he
could play as well.
Yeah, like
he's good hands.
Like even in Providence when he played, like he had 5 or 6 highlight reel goals. Like he has hands, and
he saved all the ones over here against Sheffield.
Oh yeah,
he did the move he used where he frees the goalie. And
fake slap shot. Yeah, I seen that one. Yeah, he stole it from me.
Did you see the one where he scored the goal and then went flying down the other end of the ice towards the Steelers fans, pumping his fists and stuff?
No, I didn't see that one.
When we finished, I will show it to you. It's hilarious.
No, he was. I really like him. He was. When he was on the substances, he was even tougher. Like he was tough here and he was tough there, but when he was
the toughest guy in the NHL for years, wasn't he?
Yeah. So when he was partying, he was even tougher. They say Probert was the same way. When he was tougher when he was on stuff than when he wasn't. Not that they weren't tough when they weren't, but so.
Have you seen what McGrattan's doing now with his Battle of the Blades thing?
I see.
That's really cool. That is. And he seems pretty good at it.
He's actually got a pretty good job in Calgary, where he acts like a liaison between the players and the coaches, and kind of like a mentor and a.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Make sure the kids stay on the right way and things.
And they can open up to him, and not get in trouble by the team.
Yeah, it's like a private counselling kind of thing.
Yeah, it's where it's the team doesn't find out, so it almost opens up a avenue for the players, so they don't end up like he was at some point.
That's quite cool.
So it is a pretty good job, and only 2 teams have adopted that job, and the Flames are one of them. Yeah, and I'm sure more will.
Yeah, especially with the way the world's
going,
especially with the opioid crisis in America.
And mental illness. Theo Fleury was doing a speech at a breakfast I had to go to the other day, and he said they say the stat is 1 out of 5 have mental health, and he said bullshit. It's 5 out of 5. 4 of us have it. And 1 knows someone really close to them that has it. So let's say 5. So basically, mental illness is everywhere.
Yeah. And then once you finished in Providence, it's Italy for you.
Yeah. So what got me to Italy? I think just again, I'm getting older, and that's where the opportunity presents itself, and I end up going there. I loved Italy.
It's another country to tick off as well.
And I was in a Valpucertal. I was in a small town, but it was a ski resort town in the bottom of the Alps, and there was only 14 to 15,000 people. But in January, February, it was packed with tourists. It was it was small, and they knew what you were doing and
what like living in a fishbowl kind of thing.
Yeah, but. It was fun, and it was a good opportunity to see northern Italy. It's nothing like the south, but you're in the Alps, and it's very beautiful.
And then you're playing with former Panther Joe Jensen and former Sheffield Steeler Nate DiCarisma. Is that how you pronounce his name? What do you remember about those 2 guys? Because I remember when Joe came in here, yes, the way he left, I don't know any of the story behind why or how he ended up leaving just overnight. But he was quite a good player when he came to Nottingham.
I like Joe as a player. He was fast. He did penalty kill. He could score. I think Joe was his biggest
enemy.
Yeah, like I think he thought he should be here, but he could have been comfortable there.
Oh, okay, so never satisfied kind of thing.
I think he didn't. I think that caught up to him, and who knows where he is now.
Yeah. And then that year in Italy, you pick up your first championship,
Yeah. So and it was.
and that's a long time coming.
Yeah, and it really wasn't the league championship. It was like the Continental Cup. It wasn't.
So it wasn't within.
It wasn't the big championship, and it was kind of almost like it's the.
Was it an interleague
Yeah.
type of thing?
Like yeah, so it was an interleague, and it was kind of like you're not really winning. You kind of got the
You get a trophy, but you don't feel.
bridesmaid.
Yeah, but you don't feel the. You don't.
You
feel,
didn't get married. You were the bridesmaid. Yeah, so you don't really feel the same.
So then, after a year in Italy, the Elite League comes calling. Because as the story goes, it was Nottingham. It was Sheffield who were after you originally.
Yep.
And you wanted a 1-year deal. They wanted a 2.
And they didn't want to give me schooling, and I knew Corey, and I didn't really know the Sheffield.
Because I remember after you didn't sign for them, and I don't know why this sticks in my memory, but I remember an article in the paper that we didn't sign him because he's lazy. They came up with some because it always seems to leak out like who they're signing, and because it didn't happen. They had to come up with like some excuse for why it didn't happen. But you ended up really haunting them that year.
I don't think I was too lazy then, was I?
No, not at all. So how did you know Corey then?
Well, I played against Corey in the OHL. He was with North Bay at the time, and he was a Maritimer, and just ran through a couple passes and knew people that knew him. And
so when he got in touch, did you expect to hear that he was a coach at that point? Or?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know. I didn't even know much about the English league at the time. I knew that before it was a league where a lot of the fighters went, but
where guys come to retire.
That has evolved to, as you can just with the British team being in Division 1 in the World Championship. So it's just that's the involvement where now it's a level league across the board. So which is good. But I didn't know that at the time. And Corey called. He said we can get you into school. And I said I want to do my MBA. And he said no, we can't do that. You don't have an undergrad. I said okay, I'm not coming. Back and forth. They finally got me in, and the rest was
Nicola can work her magic with those universities.
I guess so. I don't know what they did.
So then you signed the deal. When you get to the Elite League, I think your first game was in Hull.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What did you think when you turned up there and you see the disco ball in the roof and all that?
I'm from a small town in PEI with old rinks and old stuff, and I was already in Russia where they were before the rinks changed over to there were some old rinks. So it wasn't that much of a I'm like but it wasn't that much of a eye opener because I experienced situations like that before. So it wasn't that bad.
And as a feature in a ring, that disco ball is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's for the skates, is it? For the
the public ones. Yeah. Whereas when guys chip it out, oh no,
hit the disco ball.
Yeah.
Those sirens come to get me?
I don't know. It might be the Russians. And then your first home game was against the Dundee Stars. You got off to a really good start in front of the Nottingham crowd. You got 2 goals or a hat trick?
I think 2 that you did.
And also took a drink out of the goalie's water bottle, from what I remember.
Yeah, that's maybe that was. I like doing that.
Has that been a feature of?
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that in the American League and stuff, and
just because it just gets right on there.
So that, but then I always. My dad, who I don't know why he would, instead of discouraging me, he said, "Well, make sure you see the goalie drinking it in case they fill it with piss or something." So I always watched to make sure the goalie drank first.
I bet they never drank after the first time you saw do it. Next time you came around. And then that year, it was a great year for Nottingham and personally for yourself as well. And especially when you had, that was a lockout year as well, where a guy like Anthony Stewart comes into play, and he made his debut in Sheffield. What do you remember about Anthony?
I see him. He's on Sportsnet and the radio now. He came here and.
So we had his brother last year.
Yeah, I saw that too. And is he still with the Flyers? Or?
I don't know. I know he had a lot of fights in the PT with his PTO and stuff, but he had a really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, when Anthony came, I think that. He was playing in the NHL. He wasn't producing offensively, and I think sometimes your role at a higher level can change, and when you come down and try to do an offensive way later, it just isn't there the same ways. And I think that he, in the short period he was here, I don't think he could find his offensive game, which isn't a
No,
knock on him. It's just
well,
that's to
when
say
he was here
sometimes-
from the outside, you could tell he bought into the team.
Oh yeah,
effort.
like
He was
did.
all in. He wasn't here to just
No, he
stay
wasn't on
fit.
for a ride. No,
No.
he came and he liked the wins, and he didn't like the lot to lose. So he was a good team guy for sure.
And then he also came back around the same time Guy did, because obviously with the lockout there were less opportunities in North America, so Guy Lepine came back. And I think it's quite understated about how big a role him coming back actually played that year.
Well, when he came back, I think we had 3 heavyweights
It-
when he came back, and
Jason,
and
do you class Jason as a heavyweight?
yeah,
Yeah, and then is it Tuma?
no, not Tuma.
Because Kelsey came in January or
Yeah,
December.
So Kelsey, Lepine, and Jay were heavyweights, and so if you had to, and every team had 1, we had 3. And people don't realize, yeah, we had a good team, but I think that people don't realize how big of a
factor
that was, and how much it played a role in one. You're not coming in here to run over us, and you're not coming in here to blow snow in front of our goalie, and you're not coming in here to disrespect us. And some of the little guys in Sheffield and some of the little guys in Cardiff didn't want to come and play against us because they knew that if those guys didn't do it, you were going to eat one of the forward sticks.
I mean, you weren't shy either.
Well, it was just I used my stick as a weapon.
Oh, that's a quote if ever I've heard one. It'll be the headline for this whole video. And speaking of sticks as weapons, Kelsey made an impression.
Yeah, you know what? And people say
That's probably a good thing because
like
no one went near him.
and that opened up the game too, where they didn't want to come play us because people think, oh, what a dirty play, but it could have been a turning point in the season too, because they knew that no one knew what we were going to do, whether we were going to come out and throw the puck in the net or run you over and scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, I remember the first game Kelsey played, and this is going to be really impressive or really sad, or I'm going to be completely wrong, and someone on Twitter is going to correct me afterwards. I think it was against Fife, and Corey put him out for the first face-off, and he's opposite a guy called Bobby Chamon, who played for Blackburn. And I think Kelsey just tomahawked the back of his legs and just stood there like, what?
I remember, and no one did anything. And I think that's the reputation that we had.
Yeah,
we could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And you'd get a pushback from one guy in a team, and that would get stomped on, and there was no one else to come. So that's what I think happened, and people don't realize how big a role that is. And the game, even in the last 3 or 4 years, is losing that even faster. And to me, if I'm building a team, I am going speed, and I am going size and speed. And if you can't have that, but I'm having my tough guys. I'm having them. They're in there, and they can play, but they also can scare guys.
Yeah. They were tough guys, and as you said, they were tough guys who all could play. They were not one-dimensional. Oh, Kelsey Wilson, Jason Beckett, Guy Lepine. They were proper ice hockey players.
Right, but they would be on my team again. That's the way you build it.
And then that team, what do you remember about that team that made it as successful as it was? Apart from the size, was it just a group that was just completely together and all in throughout the year?
I think we had 3 really good lines, and I think that my line with Graham and Bennett didn't. We got a lot of points, and we did a lot of good things, but I don't think anyone under us was jealous, and they had their good years as well, where they weren't. Sometimes you get jealousy because one line's playing more, getting more points, and the other 2 are kind of not. But we had 3 lines that had career years, and everyone played well, and no one cared who was doing better. Than sometimes you have guys that are doing jealous that one guy's doing better, and there's fights in the room, and I don't think we had that at all. I think everyone was focused in on, wow, we have a team here that could do good things, and it went on through the whole year.
And you can see that, especially with a guy like David Clark, who is a British legend. That year, I think he had like 20 goals rather than his customary 40. But that's because he bought in to the whole ethic of what was happening with that team.
Yeah, and he saw he not only did he buy in, but he saw what greatness I think that the room could produce, and he was a leader by example and a leader by experience, by letting us guys who were rookies in the league and not knowing different things that you wouldn't know if you haven't been through it, and he was one of those guys that helped with that.
And you always hear those stories about David, like he'll call guys up when they sign here. He'll be the first guy to introduce himself when they come over, kind of thing. He was a real fixture.
Yeah, but that's because he's looking for votes from the captain.
He couldn't get those votes when he got named assistant coach, though.
No, he was really, when as soon as you sign with Nottingham, you know David Clark. It's just goes at that time. It went hand in hand. You have Nottingham Panthers, you had David Clark, and he was a big part of getting players, keeping players, and growing the players in the organization.
And especially because he stuck here for years and years and years, and so he became so synonymous with this team.
Yeah, and you know what, Strax and Corey that year they gave us a plan, and they let us veer off it, but kept us in the right line. And they were key because they allowed for the personalities, which we had a bunch of them, but allowed them to clash, but they were always there to put us back and
keep you in the room
and the focus on what we were
whilst
trying
being able
to
to
do.
express yourselves.
Yeah.
And whilst you're here, you stuck up a pretty special on ice relationship with Bruce Graham. That Ling to Graham was the goal every night.
Yeah, so at first it didn't seem like it was going to be a click, and then it just seemed like he was always in that area where I was thinking that someone should be. He ended up always being in that way, and then when he would get the puck and he didn't want to shoot it, I seemed to be in that area that he wanted to be. Who knows? It was because Benny was going everywhere and doing all the work for us.
You could do whatever you want to with Benny out.
Yeah. So it was good. It was a good line. I think that, and Bruce had a career. You're not even, he never
got 40 goals or something.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever got that again or before. So it was just everything lined up.
A line in a
that
bottle
year.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then that year to win everything must have been. And then, as you've just told me, that Italian Cup didn't count. So what did it mean to you to win not only the league but the Challenge Cup and the playoffs that year?
Well, it's
because that's what you play for, isn't it?
Yeah, when we raised those trophies, it was, for me, I'd never done it before, and you dream of raising the Stanley Cup. But I'm not gonna lie and say I dreamed of lifting up the EIHL, because I never dreamed of that. But it felt really good when I did it, because you do dream about raising that cup and winning and feeling that fulfillment that you finished what you started at the start of the year, and that's what the feeling's about. It's not about winning. It's about you fulfilled with a group of friends that you built this thing, and now you've done what you set out to plan for. And then to see the 7,000 fans that backed you the whole year, to see their excitement, it brings it to another level of euphoria. So it just everything lined up perfectly that year. And
it's one of those things. It's almost a shame it didn't happen in Nottingham. It happened that night in Belfast.
I know.
And I'm going to ask you, what do you remember about that night in Belfast? Not the night, 'cause I'm sure you can't remember much of the night in Belfast. But the game.
What I can't remember is none of my business.
It feels like it should be a tattoo or something.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the game? And then when Gallivan hit the shot into the top corner.
Well, I think our attitude the whole year was, even if we got behind, or even I don't think we ever thought we could lose. Whether we were down 4-1 or we were tied, or we were, I don't think in our mindset that we thought we were losing. Sometimes on teams, even, I'm sure they're doing it now, they get down 2-0 and everyone goes, another night like this. We as a whole, we never had that feeling. So I think that when we went into Belfast, we wanted to win in Nottingham because we knew what it would be like. But I don't think that we ever felt like we were going to lose. So we were ready.
Because the one turn, people look at the turning points in that year, like the arrival of Guy, the arrival of Anthony Stewart, but it was that loss to Edinburgh at home, wasn't it, that really seemed to
The 2
2-1,
yeah. I think we lost 2-1, but we outshot them.
And there was
60 to 20.
There's a goal that went in at the end where was the clock over the limit or not, but it was still the loss. And then that was the one where everyone was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then from then on, it was almost like a juggernaut. Like was that a wake up call?
I think so, and I think that we went into the room and we're like, even then we were like, we can't lose like that. We can lose games that we don't deserve to win, and we can have nights off, but we can't lose games that we outshoot teams 60 to 20 or whatever. We can't have those losses. You're going to have a bad night, lose. You can eat those. You can play bad and lose. You can do those, but you can't have the ones, because you're not. As a good team, you're not going to have those bad nights, but you can't lose the games that you should win because you played better. And I think that woke us up and realized that there's something here, and we went from there.
I remember Jordan came out in the press and he said, "That's on me. I'm the captain. You blame me." And that just speaks to his leadership skills, doesn't it? For him to go out there and do that. Yeah,
and he and he's not just saying it. That's Jordan would have felt that for sure. And I don't remember that quote, but I know that he would have some players, some captains give you what you want to hear and tell you, but that he gave what he felt. So if he said that, he felt it.
And as a player, from him being one of the top centres in the league the year before, for him to move back and play on defence and take a back step on that front, that was a real testament to him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's, everyone bought in and everyone accepted and everyone didn't get jealous and everyone didn't get pissed off, and that was an example. And I think Jordy also realized that there was an opportunity for him to do something there too, because he did it. He did still get a lot of points from playing the back end. So he's strategic enough to know that he wasn't going to get screwed out of the deal either, but realized that we have a chance and this could be where it happens.
And it's all backstopped by one of the Elite League's premier netminders in Craig Kowalski.
Yeah, he's...
Did you get many by him in practice?
I scored at him every day, but he didn't try in practice. He only tried in games.
Saved him for the game.
And then I seen him last year, and I'm like, holy, he can't play goalie anymore. He went out in the testimonial last year and was unreal. So it's like...
It's just natural.
Maybe it's just these fans that he plays good in front of.
Maybe. It could be that. And then it comes to Challenge Cup win after the league. It's kind of weird because it was after the end of the season, and you were up coming back, and it was you lost 2-1 to Sheffield at home, but you managed to still take that trophy as well.
Yeah, and I think it's, for the North American players, it's hard to...
The aggregate thing.
To get up, win one thing, have to push that aside and go back and try to win something else.
Especially when you're told all year that league is the main thing. That's
right.
It.
So then you think, that's all. But I think there's where Corey and Strax came in and made us realize that if you're happy winning one or you're winning two, but they built it in to make us, before it all started to happen, to build in that we were winning all three. I think it allowed us not to go too high after we won. We had fun after the night, but I think it still was our business to get all three. We weren't finished, and I think that's where Corey and Strax, in hindsight, looking back, prepared us for that moment.
Because I know you have from speaking to Nicola and Rick himself, I know you and Strax have a pretty special relationship still.
Yeah, me and him,
kind of one and the
similar
same,
people. Yeah, so we bonded right away. I didn't get to see him play, but I think he enjoyed. I think I played similar to him, small guy, didn't take much shit, and could produce. So we took a liking to each other early, and it was a bond of friendship and we're similar in age.
Well, now he's on his plant-based diet. He looks like he could play tomorrow.
He always could. He was doing. I think he was doing 100 kilometers a week on that bike.
Yeah, no, he's still biking, but now he's all plant-based and things. So when you see him on Tuesday or tomorrow, you'll see he looks completely trim.
And no more beer.
No, I think he still drinks, but he eats well. So when you balance
it, yeah.
So you can have one, but you can have one, but not both. Yeah. So I think he does that. But
it'd be good to see him, because I talked to him and a few times. even since last year, and I there is a bond there.
And then what did you find playing under Corey was like? Because I know he's a player's coach.
Yeah, and
And especially as he got hurt that year.
But like I said earlier, he let us do things that I'm sure sometimes he wouldn't allow, just because of the personalities and I think the greatness that he saw in the room as a whole. He was strict. He was the Corey's nerdy self sometimes, where he would do strange things that he had a purpose for, and when you win all three, you can't. How can you fault it? And I'm sure the fans, by the end of his era here, got pissed at him and didn't like him anymore. But I bet you right now that they're wishing that he came back.
Like I think he got pretty far, he was named the DEL2 Coach of the Year last year and things.
Yeah, and it's like he's a good coach. He's XOs. He knows what he's doing. He's prepared like no one else, and he does his homework to get that preparation done. We had fun with him. He would be open to listening to what we thought we should do, but that didn't mean you were getting it. You didn't walk over him, and you didn't. But he was there. He was there as the coach, but he was also a friend to a lot of us as well. So it was a perfect storm.
And obviously he started that year as a player coach, got hurt in Cardiff, and then was a bench coach for the rest of the season.
Yeah, like when I came in and he was putting himself on the power play and this and that, and I'm like, you can't play power play anymore. And you're in my spot.
He's saying that injury was the best thing for everyone. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then it comes to the playoff finals weekend. So another adjustment is you're back at it in aggregate action against Fife. You go up to Kirkcaldy, which is a rink unto its own, as the old barn as they call it, and you lose 4-2. And then you come back and you win in Nottingham 3-0 to go back to the finals weekend. What do you remember about the finals weekend with all those fans from all the different teams around?
You hear about it and you hear that they get dressed up and they're drinking all weekend and they're having fun, and until you get out there and see it, you don't really realize it, because you think all the fans are always having fun, and they're always. But the playoff weekends is a different weekend.
It's a different noise from all the corners and everything.
And you see the alliances forming, and it probably changes year to year, where the crowds from certain teams are partying, and the next year those same fans probably are partying because the teams are more competitive against each other, and they hate a different team than they hated last year. Yeah. So there's alliances in the crowd, and you kind of see them happening while you're playing and watching.
And then I can't remember who you beat in the semi-final on the Saturday. For the life of me, I can't remember. I've tried to remember. I just can't.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it Sheffield?
No, I don't think I'm not confident they made it. Because I know we beat. I remember the game on the Saturday. Everyone was confident we were going to make it through that. It was going to be like no problem. If it was Sheffield, I apologise. I'm completely wrong. But I remember it was Belfast in the final, and you go up 2-0 after Jonathan Weaver. Like when Lacko scores that first goal, where it bounces off the back of the net.
Was it Edinburgh?
No,
did they upset someone?
Could have been Hull.
Yeah, it was Hull.
Hull.
I think it was a team that upset someone.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
it might have been Hull knocked Sheffield out, and then we beat Hull.
Yeah.
Was it a team that we absolutely battered?
I think so.
Yeah, it could have been Hull, because and then the final was against Belfast, and when Lacko gets that first goal that bounces off the back of the net, off the back of Stephen Murphy, and just rolls in, at that point you got to be thinking, luck's on our side at this point. And then you pass that one to Jonathan Weaver, and he hits one of the best goals ever seen at a playoff weekend. 2-0 up going into the third period. What was it like in the room then? Did you know you were going to take that? Or was it in the room? Was it, we've got this?
You know what? We that year, and I haven't experienced many teams that way. We didn't think we were going to lose, but we never got overconfident thinking that we were going to win. We knew we had to play 60 minutes and worry about the outcome. I'm sure we made jokes about it'll be much more fun in this room if we come in and we win, knowing that we have a good chance. But we also do Belfast, especially in this league, couple penalties, and couple power play goals in the games,
Well,
2-2.
Especially when they have a guy like Robbie Sandrock, who had one timer he had.
Yeah, so they say
Worst league in sports.
Sports is 2-0. So I'm sure that was talked about in the room and went back out and focused for 20 minutes. But
and then it goes to overtime, which this is the last game of the season, and then they take that too many men penalty because the guy circles back on the change. Was that then you got, this is our moment, we have to do this now?
Well, we knew
because the 4 that were sent out were you, David, Jordan, Eric, and that's a hell of a 4 to go out on a power play in overtime.
Yeah, so you're given an opportunity, and with good teams, those are the opportunities that you have to take advantage of. And I think that with the high that we've been rolling all year, I think that we knew then that it was going to happen.
Because I'm fairly sure you got hosed of an assist on that final goal. I'm sure David didn't touch that puck.
Clarkie didn't touch a lot of pucks.
I think that was the same with Corey throughout his playing days as well. But when you're the coach and you fill in the game sheet afterwards.
Yeah. But you know what?
Clarkie
was very, for me as a passer, I really enjoyed, because sometimes you pass to guys and you don't know if they're going to shoot it.
He's always ready.
You don't know if they're going to shoot it. And sometimes you're thinking, should I give it to him? Because if he doesn't shoot, it's a bad play. But you knew with Clarkie, if you were giving it to him, he was shooting it. So that was, I enjoyed that part of it, because I knew if I'm going to get him the puck, he's going to shoot it. Because sometimes, like I said, sometimes you're like, if he doesn't shoot it, it's a waste. Why should I pass? So then you're hemming and hawing. But him, you knew you were getting a shot, and it was a good shot.
And then Jordan manages to find that puck, poke it somehow through the goalie. What is that feeling like when that goes in?
Well, now you've accomplished what you set out for. You weren't able to give 100% of your party or your excitement when you win the league, because there was still business left. So this now is when it's done. Now you feel the excitement and the of the group, and that you've succeeded doing something. So I think it would be harder to win one and not the others, and because now you have the whole 3, and it was an unreal feeling, because that's what we set out to do.
And to get that win in the last game, that win that because to lose that game would have sucked, wouldn't it? Because you don't get that moment back.
No, it's like the race in the Triple Crown. It doesn't come back. It doesn't happen all the time. People get close, but it doesn't happen all the time. It's one of those things that happens very rare. So when you get it, you realize how special it is. But you don't realize that until that final moment.
Yeah, and then one of the things I think another thing that gets overlooked a little bit that year is the return of David Beauregard, where he came back in January, and this is a guy who fresh came off, I think, a 40-goal season the year before. For him to come in and accept being a bit part player and be a part of that group, it was a real testament to him, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's,
I think fans like me would have loved to have seen you and him together.
Yeah, that's what they said, and I really never got the opportunity. But you know what, he came in with it, and the organization did a great move by bringing insurance in like that. And a lot of guys would have came in, said, "Yeah, I'll do it," but when they got here, would get pissed off that they weren't playing. But he was always, he was perfect for the team, perfect to fill in when needed, and he was a big part of the final run.
And then, was there any part of you that wanted to come back to Nottingham the year after, or did you think, "I've done it all there now"? Because you went back to, you went to play in the NLSHL. Is that a semi-pro league?
Well, I went back. You know what? I contemplated retirement. I was working in government at the time, and I didn't really know. My kids were getting older, starting to wonder where Dad is all the time. Dad used to be the hockey player. Now they were old enough to realize that he's a dad. He's my dad. Not just the hockey.
When
player.
they're little, you can get away with it. When they start to become more cognizant.
Now they're. I know, Dad, you're a hockey player, but I need you around more. Which the hockey has given me good things, but it's also given me a lot of bad things. I'm missing out on kids stuff. I'm missing out on different things in life. I'm missing out on things that people that don't play hockey and don't leave home don't
live a normal life, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So as much good as it given me, it's given me some hardships, and I have nothing bad to say about the game. Fact is a fact, though. And I wanted to come back, but my mind wasn't in it. I wanted to start being closer. My whole situation is not a normal situation, and things had to align. I tried to, even when I tried to come back, you know, here, things pulled me back. You get older, you realize that when you're younger, you don't realize
How much
you're getting
freedom
old,
you have.
or you don't realize you're getting older. You just realize I'm bulletproof. I'm walking around. Whatever I do is good. No one, you know what I mean? When you get older and you see friends dying, my dad died, your friends die of health issues, you start to realize that life isn't forever, and there's more important things that you have to take care of, because if you don't and you close your eyes and open, your kids are 30 and they're having kids and you've missed
Everything.
So there were some personal things that I battle with. I don't regret any of them. I played a game long enough.
You had a full career by then.
Do I still feel like I can play? Yeah. Do I still want to play? Yeah.
There's still fans who want you to come and play.
Will I play? I don't know, but I love playing. I'm still.
Don't say that little last bit. I got to deal with the ramifications of that.
They've never asked me to come back again.
Yeah, you mentioned that on Twitter quite a few times. I see that.
So no one really knows my answer.
But we'll see how you do tomorrow. There's one thing Bo said. He said he hasn't took to the ice for a year and a half because he's had knee surgery. And he says, I'm terrified if I score 3 or 4 goals, they're going to offer me a contract because I cannot accept it.
No, you know what? Everywhere, I played in the East Coast League. The games got so much faster in the last 4 years.
But you really slowed the game down, didn't you? Like, you brought it down to your pace. You were very methodical with what you did.
And that's why I was a good American. I was a good American League player and didn't get the opportunity. But maybe they didn't see it that I couldn't make the NHL, because it was when I'm skilled enough or above.
Because your
mind was my key, my niche. My niche. That was where I stood out. Yeah, I had other talents passing, but my brain was slowing the game down to my speed, letting things go by you and slowing it down. And that's why I was good on the power play, because
a bit more space.
And it's not a fast pace. It's not up and down the ice. You're slowing it down. You're figuring out. It's almost a chess game. You're moving guys. Some passes are made not to score. It's made to move the chess player somewhere else. So when you get the puck back, the other guy's open. So it's at a slower pace. I think that's where
it's almost like puzzle solving, isn't it?
Yeah. So sometimes we would say, take a shot, and the guy would say, well, there's a guy in front of me. I said, yeah, I know, but if you hit him in the stomach or in the shin pads and he's hurting, the next time you wind up, he's going to close his eyes and then you pass it by him. So it's some plays are done to set up the next play. And that's why when I'm coaching kids or I'm watching, sometimes the power play coaches that didn't play the power play, after a minute, switch it up. And the guys go, oh, fuck. And they're not like, when I would get it taken off the power play 1 minute in, sometimes I'd go, oh. And it wasn't because he took me off. It's because I had the penalty killers where I wanted them.
You're grinding them down.
And I know what they're doing now. And you give me 10 more seconds and we're going to get an opportunity. I wouldn't be pissed off at the coach for taking me off. I was pissed off, but that wasn't me showing it. It was showing because I knew I had the penalty killers where I wanted them.
And like you say, your success on the power play was well known just from watching you over here. But you did go play back home in the East Link CB Stars, but then you ended up back in Italy again. Was that just a want to get back into the professional game? Were you missing it?
You know what? That opportunity came. They came calling, gave me an opportunity to wonder if I wanted to go, and at that time I said sure.
And you're going to go on a playoff run with that team as well. So did you go at the back end of the year?
Yeah. So I came in January of that year, and then left. And you know what? The older I got, 8 months away became long. 6 months, 5 months was easier on the brain.
Just right.
Easier on the brain.
And then you end up in Brampton, where you become almost Nottingham Panthers' #1 agent for a few years, sending players from there to here.
And that's because of the time I had here. Like I would have, if I didn't have children and I didn't have getting older, and I would have came back here. I love playing here. I love the fans. I love the city. It was, and that's why I'm not giving friends from over there advice if it's going to be shitty advice, and they're going to call me. I'm going, what did you do? So there were players that I didn't think could play over here, but the ones that I did give Gary or Corey the names to, I knew they could be successful.
Because you've got Jeff Brown, who's he just retired this past summer,
and a great guy, yeah,
and a great leader as well. You got Tim Billingsley,
who's to me is a great guy. I don't know, he made the GB team.
Yeah,
was one of I watched, and he was one of the better D at the.
Got to go up against his childhood friend Claude Giroux. I think he was at his wedding in the summer, then playing against him in the following summer, which is quite a cool thing. And you also had a guy Luke Pither, who's a hell of a player.
Real good player.
He's out in Germany now.
Yeah, and three good guys, and I don't know why. I didn't talk to Billingsley since July.
He's not been picked up anyway yet.
And I don't know if I'm having a hard time. If he wants to play, I'm having a hard time why people aren't picking him up.
With Billingsley?
Yeah.
Unless he's taking a break or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't talk to him since July, so I don't know if it's his break or. Yeah. But if he's not getting calls, I'm mind-boggled.
Yeah, because I know he wasn't at uni, but I know he was doing some college courses, off his own back kind of thing. So whether he's finishing up with stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to give him a ring actually.
Because the other guy who's in this league who you play with is Matthew Gagnon, who is a real tough cookie.
Real tough. They called me I called him and said, "Get this guy." He said, "Is he tough?" I'm like, "He's tough."
Did he spot like a bench brawl pre-game or something?
Oh, he would start, and like he if you told him to do something, he'd do it. Like and when no one would fight him. So he wasn't his Pims the 1 year, but no one would go near him. And I'd watch, and he'd go up to guys, and they'd back away. So I'm like, this guy's crazy tough, and he is.
And he was a fan favorite here, and then went back to Brampton, and then now he's in Manchester.
Because they didn't want to bring him back. I don't know. Why wouldn't you want to bring him back?
Can't think. Because I was because
I think Chernamats didn't want him.
He was here Corey's last year.
And I think the next year Chernamats didn't want him.
And then decided to go his own route with, maybe wanted more of a clear out kind of thing.
And that worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out very well. that was interesting to deal with in December, especially on social.
That worked out good.
A few moments like that recently.
So now I play with a lot of teams in my career, but there's only a few that I follow, and I'm always looking how Nottingham's doing. Like, so it has a place in my heart.
And is that why you came back the second time?
One of the reasons
was Corey just ringing you and saying, "David, please come back, please come back"?
No, it wasn't that way. I don't even know if I didn't. I was staying in touch and whatever and following.
You were still talking because
I don't know if I didn't say. You need a guy that can play in that league, joking around, and then it started from there. But I wouldn't have came back if I didn't have a positive experience.
And what do you remember about that second time in Nottingham? With obviously that's when Cam was here, when Brad Moran was here, Juraj Kolnick, Cam Jansen. What do you remember about that group?
That was we were missing something. I didn't know what it was, and we were good. We weren't great. We didn't have the same dressing room as the year before. Why? I don't know. I didn't even reflect to try to come up with the reasons. I was dealing with. By the end of it, I was dealing with personal stuff that.
It was a bit of an escape coming back, a little bit.
Hockey always was an escape for me. When you're dealing with issues, whether it's kids, relationships, stress of whatever. And whenever I got to the rink, they were gone. Whenever I got on the ice, they were gone. Your dad died, you're depressed, you get on the ice, gone. So it was always an escape. So to say that coming back wasn't an escape, in hindsight, sure, it probably was.
And then you probably left the Panthers with the only David Ling way that you could. I think did you get a hat trick in Dundee?
I think.
And then you got thrown out.
Yeah.
And then that because people, the Corey and people, they knew before you told everyone before the game, didn't
And
you?
they said, yeah, get another weekend in, and it was
Imagine that was
my
tough to go mid-season.
my dad would have been spinning in his grave when I quit, because he said, you don't have to do anything. Don't don't start it. Don't play. But if you start, don't quit. So it was. I dealt with that, and it was a decision that took me over a while to come up and decide. And then I don't know if it was my mother or my sister said something like, "Do it for your kids. Whatever. It's not quitting if it's for your kids. You're starting. You started to be a dad. You finished being a dad." So that's where it kind of came in, where I quit one thing to make another thing where I wasn't quitting, and I was finishing. So it was a decision I'm not comfortable with. I didn't like. I don't like talking really about it. If I was, and I was having a good year. I was playing well.
I think if I'm right, you were, and maybe finished that year as the top point, because you came in a little bit later. You came in, and you still were the top points per game player.
Yeah.
In the league.
Yeah.
So you weren't top, but you.
So it was that was, if you're having a shitty year and the team's shitty, that's an easy decision to make. When you're doing it and you're wanting to finish off what you started, that's when the decision. And in hindsight, when I left, I knew that we needed defensemen. I know now that I think about it, I know that, and I know, talking to Strax at the time, I said that if I left, there was room for 2 defensemen to come in, and you lose me, but you get.
That's when they brought in Kevin Quick and Franklin McDonald.
Yeah, so you get a opportunity to bring in 2 players that might help you in the bigger scheme of things. So that kind of helped in a decision making, not decision making, because the decision was made. Just accepting it in my brain.
Yeah. And then I imagine it was a bit easy to do it on the road. So imagine if your last game was on home ice, they wouldn't have been able to drag you off there, would they? In front of it, you'd still be out there now.
So it was a fun. It ended up being okay. It was a shitty situation.
Yeah, and then you just floated around between Brampton and Stony Creek, Hamilton Seahawks. Is the ACH semi-pro? Is it
semi-pro? Yeah, amateur. That they pay.
Just wets your appetite.
But you know what? And people ask me now, like, do you? I love playing. Like I do. Do I stay in shape? I stay in shape.
You look like you could go. Well, you are going to go tomorrow, but you look like you could go tomorrow.
Do you miss? I said I get enough of that real competition to ease my brain. Whenever I'm not playing for good, I think I'll miss competition where the ref drops the puck, and like I remember playing in semi-pro, and the guy says something, I slash him. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "What am I doing? If you don't like it, play in a game where they don't keep score."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
you're playing to win. That's
right.
It. No matter what level it is.
Whatever level it is, I'm playing to win, and I'm what it takes. If it takes that, but he was like, "We're just out here having fun." I'm like, "Well, then go play where they don't keep scoring."
So throughout your storied career, as you said, we don't know if it's over yet. No one's asked you the question if it is or not. I'm not going to ask that question. But is there a goal that stands out to you at all? The one that you just that stands out as your favourite, or the biggest one that you potentially scored?
I think there's one in the American League where I scored to clinch the division. I think when you clinch a division or you score in overtime, overtime goal doesn't mean, even if it's in a regular season game, an overtime goal is an overtime goal. It makes you feel like it's like a walk-off home run in baseball. It's
just definitive.
And everyone's definitive, and it's a feeling. So I think the overtime goals, there's one in the American League where it was overtime clinching goal. Like those feelings are fun. The thing that a lot of guys like to score. I liked a good pass just as well as I love to score. but a good pass to let someone else score was just as fulfilling to me, because the backdoor empty nets where he bunts it in
because you've done all the work, kind of thing.
And that feeling is the same for me, is because it's like, wow, and then because you see his excitement, and he ain't getting that excitement if you don't give him that puck. And I don't mean every pass, because some assists you don't even deserve.
Well, the secondary ones we just
you gave it to, like Foxy's. He gave it to me in the neutral zone, and I gave it to Graham, and he went down all the way down and scored. What the fuck? Foxy did nothing. So, but the ones where you make a good play or you're involved in a good play, those are the same feelings as goals.
And then best moments in your career, again, so far, would that have to be the Grand Slam?
For sure. I never won anything. I won individual awards, but I never won any team things. And there's no other feeling. Like I always, you watch. I still to the day I watch when people win, you tear up, or I tear up when they raise the Stanley Cup. Doesn't matter who it is. They raise the Stanley Cup, or the girl wins the swimming event. She comes out and she's jumping up and down. Like that excitement of them winning brings tear to my eyes. Am I crying because I'm sad? No, it's that excitement that you really can't feel unless you're there. And when we were able to raise those trophies, you got that feeling. So it's that's probably the best feeling ever.
So what do you do? So outside of hockey, what do you occupy your time with now, or are you still just around the game?
No, like I stay around the game. I watch, but I'm working in the financial industry and the real estate markets, and I'm dipping and diving in those. And do I like it? I don't mind it. Is it hockey? No.
I got the same rush as a goal when you sign a contract on a deal.
Yeah, no. It's life, and I understand that part of it. That's people go, well, how are you going to replace hockey? Well, you're not, because you're not going to. Who gets up and 5,000 people watch them play and cheer for them, and you score goals and you feel good and you get to joke around for 2 hours a day with your buddies and go home and do whatever you want for the rest of the day. And where are you replacing that? Even if you win the lottery, you don't get to have the buddies with you.
No.
So it's irreplaceable. So you just realize how to adapt to the new way, or the regular way.
real world,
yeah.
So to speak. And your son plays, does he?
Yeah, both sons played. The ones they one plays AAA, one plays AA. Neither of them will play.
Professionally?
Probably not. If I could put them together, they would.
Oh, okay.
One works hard, has a dirty streak, loves to get penalties. The other one's really skilled and doesn't really like the rough stuff. So I could put them together.
They're you.
Together.
Doing together, it's you. You got everything there.
But it's fun watching, but it's also watching one kid who's not as skilled as the other kid. You kind of, as a dad, but you never really say it. And same as the other one, you're watching him and he's so skilled, but he doesn't really want to go in the corner. He doesn't really like going in front of the net, but he can make really nice passes and he can score when he gets opportunity. So you're like, it's hard as a dad because you know what he should be doing, but you have to accept that not everyone's that way.
Everyone fulfills a different role,
and you can't make someone be someone they aren't. So it's parenting and coaching. I'm sure coaches go through the same thing. I never really coached a team, but you can't. Coaches hate guys, but do they really hate them, or like? Because another coach might like them, but it's just because you get it in your brain that you should be doing this and you should be doing that. Well, maybe just accept that you're good at this.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying about Dave King, isn't it? That you say he didn't like you. And as soon as he went, you got in. So it's luck of the draw.
Yeah. So if there's ever improvement in science and you can bring two kids together, I might have NHL.
So you're looking forward to getting back on the ice tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Because
do you keep in touch with all that? Because there's a lot of the Grand Slam team coming back for this. This is like the first time Bruce.
Yeah, like I talked to the guys some of the guys that we played with, and when we cross paths, it's a giggle and a laugh, and it's a bond that no one will ever take away, because they say that championships build a bond, and they really do. You feel like you're in that moment a lot of the times, because when anyone says feel your best day of your life, a lot of those are your best days of your life.
Yeah, well, enjoy getting back on the ice. Try not to score too many points so I don't have to deal with too many tweets or anything.
I think I'm playing with the coach and the GM. Maybe I'll.
Are you playing with Deuce and Wallace?
I think we're on the same team, no?
Oh, wow. Well, at the draft tonight, you might end up on their team.
How are they doing it? Is it just 2 teams?
I think, you were at Stevie's last year, weren't you? Because you did the Zamboni thing, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they're doing the same. You know,
Same 4 teams?
Yeah, I think it's the same, but Rob's
And
going
it's
to play
a
on
draft.
all of them.
Oh, that's because they got mad.
Because Steve was always off the ice.
No, I think because I tied it up with 4 seconds left to almost put Stevie's team out.
Yes, you did. I remember.
Yeah, remember? So that's why they're changing it now, because they don't want the testimonial guy to be gone.
So you've enforced the rule change in a testimonial event, because I bet you loved it. I bet you'd have loved it.
No, I thought it was going to be 2 teams.
Oh, it might be. I know the jerseys are pretty cool. There's some like really old school, like looking like from the 90s, I think, like style Panthers jerseys that are meant to be quite cool. But it's all a really cool event. And like I said, the names that have come back for it this year, especially getting Bruce back as well. Because if you and him don't get put on the same team, it's going to be a tragedy.
Yeah, it should be automatic.
I know, you should come as a pair.
Yeah.
Just pair 2 other people up, then you and Bruce as a pair
Yeah.
as well. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yep, appreciate it. It was fun.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Maybe
And,
I'll see you again.
You never know, it could be a part 2. You might see some more stories down the line.
That's right.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.